Who doesn't love solving a puzzle? To be the one to solve something really makes you feel special. Well, today's episode of Mumbles is going to tell you a game that is all about puzzles and storytelling. Check it out next on Mumbles. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mumbles. I'm so glad that you're here to join me today for another game review. And today's game review is on a game that I previously reviewed the very first episode to. Well, episode 2 has just recently been released on the Nintendo Switch, and it is for that reason that today we'll be reviewing Bertram Fiddle, episode 2. Now, before we get into any of that, I do have to ask you guys all a huge favor, and I know that, sometimes people can ask this too much, but I gotta ask it anyways, guys. If you haven't already, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that little notification bell, and drop a like for the video if you enjoy the content. It just helps the channel out. It helps. The more likes it gets, the more people see the video on YouTube search results. It just helps everything go better. And just know how much I appreciate it, guys. Really, I do. Now, without further ado, let's talk about Bertram Fiddle. Now, this is a game that is available for the Nintendo Switch and Steam. And it can be picked up for the mere price of $9.99. Now, this game is created by a company called Rumpus. Now, they've only done one other game to this point, and that game is Bertram Fiddle Episode 1. But this is a company that knows their stuff. They have, since creating this game, they have worked on their own short films, commercials, and series work for CBBC, Google Japan, and Aardman. So they do know their stuff, so you don't have to, be thinking, oh, this is some game developer that doesn't know what the heck they're doing. They do have experience in this kind of realm. So what is this game about? I'm going to read you guys the exact description that the creators give me. The year is 1884, and the world's leading Victorian explorer, Bertram Fiddle, is still struggling to find a suitable adventure. Owing to his wife's demand for a steady income, he has been forced to take a job as a telegramical salesman in Dalsworth soap factory. But Mr. Dalsworth isn't as squeaky clean as everyone thinks, and soon Bertram finds himself embroiled in a mystery far bleaker than he could possibly imagine. With over 60 scenes, A Bleaker Predicklement is a mysterious point-and-click adventure game full of puzzles, dark secrets, and terrible puns. Explore the richly detailed world full of suspicious characters, solve mind-befuddling puzzles, and track down Victorian London's most elusive serial killer, Joff, the murderer. Inspired by classic adventure games, Hammer horror films, Cartoon Network shows, Sherlock Holmes, and Lovecraft, it is jam-packed with Victorian mysteries. So in my own words, Bertram Fiddle is basically a point-and-click adventure that is kind of like a detective game, but not really. It's more of a fun kind of game going on. You kind of solve puzzles, you watch the story, and that's pretty much all that happens. You know how these point-and-click adventure games work, and this one is really no different. The only difference is how it's set up. So now let's talk about the graphics, the soundtrack, and the controls. First off, the graphics in this game, just as they were in Bertram Fiddle number 1, the graphics in this game are superb. They have bright, colorful, interesting graphics. The characters are live and vivid. Things pop out of the screen at you, and it's just a joy to play this game graphical-wise. Soundtrack-wise, this game has kind of very low background music. It doesn't really do much with the background music. It's more of kind of the cliche that Mumbles like to talk about. Gaming elevator music. A lot of companies do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just how it is. But this game does employ gaming elevator music. And for the most part, you're just going to have nice background music in the back to have some background noise. Control-wise, for the Nintendo Switch, this game basically controls using 2 buttons. And you use your A button to click and your little control stick to move back and forth. Very simple, very easy to use. As you move along the screen, you will see a mouse pointer that kind of shows you where you're clicking things. So that's all there really is to the controls of this game. Now let's talk about the gameplay of this game. This game, much like the first one, asks the player to basically solve puzzles and interact with this world that is going on. For the most part, you'll be playing as Bertram. Sometimes you will be playing as his manservant, but for the most part, the controls are always the same. You look around for clues, you find said clues, you pick them up, and usually, once you do find something, it interacts somehow with the world in a bigger picture. For example, you may be given certain things that you have to put on like a palette, so a la artist style, and you have to combine all of these things in order to make them work. So Bertram Fiddle does all this stuff that a normal point-and-click adventure game does. So you can expect kind of the same thing if you've ever played a point-and-click adventure game. So that's really all there is to talk about on the gameplay of this game. It's really just puzzles and, you know, kind of finding one thing and moving on to the next thing. And that's really all there is to the gameplay. So now let's talk about the cons of this game. The first con is that this game is hard. The puzzles in this game sometimes do not just like, oh, come to me, I got it, I figured it out, I literally, in the very first episode, you are faced with opening up something. I'm not going to spoil anything, I'm just going to say you open up something. In order to open up that thing, you need a code. And I must have searched, and searched, and searched, and searched some more, and then for the heck of it, I searched even more to find that code. So, my first con is that the puzzles in this game can be a little difficult. And for a kid's game, or a game that kids can play, I feel that maybe there should have been an easier difficulty mode. Maybe a kid-friendly mode with hints. I don't know, that's just me personally. Now, the second con that I do have for this game is that, much like the first game, this game kind of follows the same story arc. And they don't really introduce anything new. So, yes, it is a point-and-click adventure. And most of the time on point-and-click adventures, new things aren't introduced. But I would have liked to see, you know, maybe a couple new mechanics, something to make it interesting. You know, kind of like how they did the Batman games. When you play the first Batman game, they have one way of doing things. The next Batman game, they improved on it and did something a little bit different. The third Batman game, they improved on that and added even a Batmobile. I would have liked to see a little bit more progression from a second episode, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to take off any of the score for that. Like I said, just my personal opinion. Now, the third con for this game is that this game is rather short. You can probably beat this game in 4 hours. Depending on how long it takes you to solve the puzzles, that's really how long the game is going to take. Finally now, guys, let's talk about the overall score that I'm going to give Bertram Fiddle on our Mumbles review. You know, it's always interesting as someone who reviews games to come to a second episode or part 2 or, you know, a second game in a series, because you get to kind of know the style of the creator. And once you know that style, you kind of know what you're looking for. Is this game any worse than the first one? No. This game is not any worse than the first one. Is this game as good as the first one? That's debatable. That's where we get into the debate and where my score is going to be mainly based on. Is this game as good as the first one? You know, that's always hard. Because in the first game of any series, you have a shock and awe factor. Oh my gosh, look, Uncharted. Look at the pretty graphics, blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, look at the new remake of Tomb Raider. Look at the pretty graphics, blah, 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 blah. Look at all the mechanics, blah, 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 blah. So once you come to a second episode, you kind of like to see a progression. You kind of like to see improvement. You want them to take what was wrong in the first game and say, we heard you consumers. Boom, fixed. Boom, we added this new. Boom, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. In Bertram Fiddle episode 2, I didn't really feel like that occurred. I kind of felt like it was just more of the same, which is okay. That's completely fine. As I said, I'm not going to base my score on them not, you know, improving anything. But what I will base my score on is the difficulty. I felt like the puzzles in this game were a bit too difficult for something that is clearly going to be beloved by children. Because it's got bright, colorful things, it is like made for children to play and have fun with. And the problem is that the puzzles can be very difficult and very frustrating, even for an adult like me. So, with that being said, I gave the first Bertram Fiddle a 7 out of 10. Episode 2, you're gonna get a 6 out of 10. I just felt like the same things that I was talking about in the first episode kind of carried over to the second episode, and the difficulty was harder. So, 6 out of 10. Still a great game, $9.99. Definitely recommend that you check it out. And yeah, guys, this has been my review of Bertram Fiddle. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Please smack that subscribe button, smack that like button, and smack all those buttons. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.